It's been a while. I'm not going to give an announcement as to why I was gone. You know, I'm going to stretch out this intro. I'll just keep it straight. Cobra Kai just got a little annoying to always do, plus the second channel was taken off, and I was having way more fun there. Power scaling Cobra Kai was honestly the worst decision I've ever made. I just spawned a bunch of disingenuous rats, and honestly, all they do is give me a headache. So I decided to rewatch one of my favorite shows of all time growing up as a kid, and similar to Cobra Kai, I wanted to just show y'all how much I like the show, and I'm not going to be power scaling The Walking Dead just yet, but I'm at least going to be talking about it. While my Rick Grimes analysis is currently cooking in the background, I'm going to be talking about what I believe to be the top 4 dumbest / worst deaths in The Walking Dead. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a lot of dumb deaths in the show. Honorable mentions are Enid, Henry, Tara, and Jesus to an extent, but I find these 4 that I picked out to be the most avoidable and pointless deaths in the show. Starting off with number 4, we have Dale. Dale, during his time on the show, was supposed to be that moral compass and essentially represented a man who won't let his humanity die with him in this world. And in the comics, he's basically what Herschel is in the show, being that moral compass for Rick. The reason Herschel is the moral compass here is because a walker, which is a raging monster that spazzes seeing live meat, like it'll literally go within like a 100-foot radius from you, somehow sneaks up on Dale like the Mission Impossible music was playing in the background for this walker, leading into his death. But don't worry guys, they're going to honor Dale by keeping Randall alive. Well, that's just great. I will say though, it's at the bottom since Glen and Andrea both grow from his death, and it wasn't completely for nothing, but the only reason he died was because the actor got fired. At number 3, we have Beth. Now, if I made this video like a few months ago before my second rewatch, this would have been at the bottom, if not, maybe not even on the list at all, since I didn't even like Beth. However, upon my second rewatch and further analysis, after the episode with her and Daryl plus her using a crossbow, it very much seemed like she would have been a Daryl Jr. and fully adapt to this new world. And it would have been cool seeing this play out. However, for some reason, Beth decides to stab Dawn, and Dawn, who has her gun but isn't aiming it at Beth, somehow spazzes and shoots her directly through the brain. Like, how does that happen? She had no reason to do this, but honestly, it was probably a good thing that it happened here, since she may have taken Noah's place in Alexandria, and that would have been horrible. But again, she had no reason to do this, and also Dawn shooting her in the face accidentally is kind of crazy. You'd expect maybe she'd point it at the ground, since it's not like she's aiming it directly at Beth's face, or at worst, maybe like shoot Beth's leg or something, but I don't think Beth should die. It honestly feels like semi-wasted potential since Noah dies anyway, but it did shift Daryl, Maggie, and even Rick into who they are now. Now, the next 2 deaths for me are infinitely worse than the ones I just mentioned. Next up is Tyrese, who to me was a top 5 character in the show during his time. And Tyrese would have been an even bigger goat going through his arc of adapting to the new world yet keeping his morals on some Rick Grimes shit. But instead, he just zoned out staring at a painting, gets bit, and uses his bitten arm as a shield to the walker's mouth, and the group doesn't even cut his arm until like 20 minutes after because Noah gets stuck fighting some walkers. Like, I'm sorry Noah, you basically got 2 people killed. What the f is wrong with you? Tyrese gets his arm cut off, and you think maybe he'll survive, but no, he dies of blood loss. Like, are you kidding me, bro? His death doesn't even matter that much either. Noah doesn't grow and dies anyway. Sasha was already on her I hate the world, I want to kill people mode after Bob, so all this did was just make her more on edge, but she gets over it, so it really doesn't feel like Tyrese's death amounts to anything. And you know what's honestly crazy? I sound mad now, but this isn't even the worst death in the show. I think everybody knows what is the worst death in the show if you're caught up. And if you're not caught up, I don't know why you're watching this video, but anyway. You could combine Dale, Beth, and Tyrese's deaths, and it still wouldn't even be as bad as Carl's. The only reason bro dies is because he got fired, which is kind of what happened with Dale, but it's worse since they didn't even warn him about his death until they were filming the scene, and the actor moved closer just to make it easier to film. The death is also stupid since we technically see it happen before it's revealed, but they don't actually show what happened until the end of the episode, which is such a cop-out. Not only did they trick the actor, but they also tricked the viewer. At the bottom of everything is a banger, don't get me wrong, but just hearing this while seeing Carl write these letters just made me so frustrated, man. Sadiq as well dies anyway and never really amounts to anything. He's just the doctor of the group, and it makes you wonder why Carl even bothered saving him. I will say though, even despite this horrible death, it does give Rick his greatest quote, that being "my mercy prevails over my wrath," and his death did somewhat better the new world. It definitely is a shame, but even with all these badly written deaths, they somehow do better the story in some way, shape, or form. They are still terrible, but it's definitely not the worst thing in the world. Except maybe Carl's death.